Hey, what's up guys? Anboni here, and this is my guide, my official guide for patch 7.0 point whatever, alright? So it's for level 110 in Legion, and we're gonna talk about talents, honor talents, artifact, relics, races, gameplay, and that's it. I'm gonna say goodbye at the end. That's it. That's all I did. So if you want to go to something directly, it's a pretty long video. It's a really long video. If you want to go to something directly, just click an annotation like on the screen. Or if you're on a mobile device, like a phone or a tablet, and you can't click annotations, then I invented this thing here on the bottom. Just scroll your seeker bar thing. Just go to whatever you want, based on colors. It's all gonna make sense on the screen. Like I'm looking at my priest now, so it doesn't make sense to me, but I know exactly what I want to do. So just click, scroll to one of these lines, arrows here, okay? Now one quick thing before we get started, I want to say that even though we're almost it's what, 2 weeks before Legion launches, it is still beta. I don't think things are gonna change, but they might, and things might become outdated in the future, and I will add annotations if things change. But if this video becomes too outdated, I'm just gonna bury it in the past. Okay, so I'm gonna make new guides in the future, but right now I feel like this is the best way to go, and I've talked to other shadow priests and they think this is the best way to go, so I'm pretty sure that this is the right information. If you guys have any suggestions, complaints, or anything, leave them down in the description below. And with that being said, let the guide begin. Okay, so let us begin with normal talents first, okay? And I'm gonna give you what the best way to go is, and it's this one here, so if that's all you want, then bye. But I'm gonna talk about all the talents and why I think that this is the best way to go, so that's why the video is quite long. And let me start off by saying that right now, the meta game seems to be train the Shadow Priest. Okay, Shadow Priests do so much damage if left unchecked. It's actually ridiculous, and it's not just damage, but it's also healing, dispels. Like, we have a lot of utility. We're really strong in threes, really strong. So the meta right now is shut down the Shadow Priest and kill him. And as a Shadow Priest, let me start off by saying this. As a Shadow Priest, if you're fighting a double caster cleave, like a wizard cleave, you're gonna be a god. Okay, Shadow Priests are really good against other casters, but they struggle a bit against melees, especially double melee. They don't struggle that much. You can still pump out a lot of damage, but it's not as deadly. Okay, you do get shut down a bit, so that's why the meta is gonna be kill the Shadow Priest. So keep that in mind when I talk about all of this. And I'm gonna mention, if the meta changes, we're gonna make some changes as well. But right now, and let's start off finally, and we're gonna cross Fortress of the Mind off the list already. It's not very good. 10% damage of Mind Blast is not, it's neglectable. Okay, Mind Blast is at most 10% of your overall damage, so it's not worth buffing that by 10% because it's gonna be just 11% of your overall damage. It's just not worth it. And then when it comes to the Insanity generation, you don't need Insanity generation. I mean, you do, it's very important. But let me just, we're gonna talk about all of this, but let me to jump a bit. We're gonna play with Driven to Madness, okay? Because that's why I said, since the meta game is train the Shadow Priest, Driven to Madness is mandatory, and you will generate a lot of Insanity with Driven to Madness, and that is why I did not pick some talents here that give you more Insanity, because for instance, like this one isn't that good. Shadow Word Void would be nice, but you don't get to cast all those Shadow Word Voids. You don't get to cast that much, and when you do get to cast, you always have something more important to cast. So that's why I believe Twist of Fate is the superior choice here. It actually makes your executes pretty scary. Okay, double Shadow Word Death with Twist of Fate, and then like a Void Bolt is a lot of damage. It's like 600,000 damage if nothing crits. Maybe a bit less actually. Maybe like 500,000. Still a lot of damage. So Twist of Fate, definitely the best here. Now let's move on to the level 30 tier, and we have Mania, Body and Soul, and Masochism. Mania is complete garbage for PvP. It gives you, at most, if you stick at 100 Insanity, it's gonna give you 20% movement speed, which is not even noticeable because you will always get melee on you, you will always be slowed. And Body and Soul is just a superior version. You can choose when you speed yourself up when you shield, and it also works for allies. You can shield allies. You can shield this guy, and it gives him a sprint. Come on, move! Alright, he's an idiot. But you know what I mean, okay? You can actually use this for utility as well for other people. And then Masochism, I would never play this unless I'm dueling something like a rogue, maybe a sub-rogue that I know for a fact it is impossible to kite, and then Body and Soul becomes kind of useless. So I'd rather just heal more with my Shadow Mend, because what this does, it basically makes your Shadow Mend heal more. Okay, it puts a hot on Shadow Mend, it doesn't deal damage to you, it just heals you more. So normally I'd go Body and Soul, but against duels versus classes that you cannot get rid of anyway, yeah, go Masochism, I guess. Next up, we got a pretty decent choice. We got Stun with Mind Bomb, or we got Fear with Psychic Voice. They're both on a 30-second cooldown, so you either have an AoE Fear or an AoE Stun. Now I normally go with Mind Bomb because you don't need to be in melee range almost to get a Fear, and normally you're gonna get a Fear on the healer or a Stun on the healer. But with Mind Bomb, you can just do it from 30 yards. You can just put the stun on the healer and then follow up with a silence or a mind control or a sheep from your mage or something. So it's more versatile. However, again, it all depends on the comp you play. If you play Shadow Priest Rogue Healer, then obviously you're gonna want to go Fear, because the Rogue can just kidney shot the healer, let's say, and then you have 5 seconds to get to the healer and fear him, and you can't do that because you also have a sprint, so it works. Okay, but most of the time I would play Mind Bomb. Next up, we got Void Lord, Reaper of Souls, and Void Ray. We're gonna cross Void Ray immediately. It's complete garbage. You don't Mind Flay or Mind Sear in PvP almost at all. You do Mind Flay a bit when like players go behind corners, so you can still do some damage and keep them in combat, but you don't really Mind Flay for the damage. You do, but it's very rare. So my Void Ray is shit. Void Lord is nice when you want to go for some sexy one shot with your what's it called, Void Torrent, because you can actually get to some ridiculous levels of haste if you play Void Lord and you stack it properly. But it's inconsistent and it's gimmicky. I mean, it's not bad. Void Lord is good, but Reaper of Souls is far superior. Alright, Reaper of Souls allows you to Shadow Word Death people under 35% HP instead of 25% HP, so it synergizes really well with Twist of Fate. It means every Shadow Word Death is going to benefit from Twist of Fate, and you can Shadow Word Death easier, so proc Twist of Fate easier. And also you get the full Insanity generation of Shadow Word Death, even if you don't kill your target, which is 30 Insanity, which is sick, because a lot of times you get Shadow Word Death on pets, and if you get 2 of them, that's 60 Insanity straight away, so it's free Void form basically. So Reaper of Souls is insanely good here. Right, and finally we got 2 tiers where we can make choices. Okay, level 75 and level 90, we actually have a choice, and it feels good, man. So first off, level 75, Sun Lane, Auspicious Spirits, Shadowy Insight. I'm gonna say Auspicious Spirits is not very good for PvP. It works in a gimmicky kind of way if you play Initiation and you like dot a lot of people and you get nice Insanity, but the Shadowy Apparitions themselves do very little damage. You would get maybe 2 or 3, maybe 2% of your overall damage is Shadowy Apparitions. Shadowy Apparitions, and increasing that by 100%, it's not a lot. It's not a lot at all. You would much rather increase the damage of your Vampiric Touch, which is your main source of damage by far. In a lot of games, you will have Vampiric Touch deal like 40% or even 50% of your entire DPS. Normally, like if you play properly, you want to have it around 30 to 40%. That should be your Vampiric Touch input. But even then, it's going to be your main source of damage. So it makes sense to me to buff your main source of damage so you do the most damage, okay? Shadowy Insight isn't bad. It's nice for the Insanity generation. But the damage of Mind Blast isn't exactly worth it. Like a tick of Vampiric Touch with Sun Lane hits almost as hard as a Mind Blast. And it's AoE. I mean, that's not AoE, but you put Vampiric Touch on everyone. So on the scoreboard, you will have the most damage with Sun Lane, and I think it is the best way to go. And also you get more healing with Vampiric Embrace, which is a nice bonus. Alright, next up we got Power Infusion, Shadow Crash, Mindbender. Again, we have a choice. It's nice to have a choice. I wasn't a big fan of Power Infusion until I really tried it. And now I love it. I feel like it's insanely strong. It's just so much burst when you're in Void form and you have Power Infusion plus your Troll Racial. Look at my haste. I have 60% haste and I have 10% without. So it's insane haste, okay? And you get even more when you're in Void form. It's just sick. Your dots stick super fast. You do the most damage. The bad part is it does get spell stolen or dispelled quite often. So against stuff like Mage plus Shaman or Mage plus Priest, like double dispels in a team, I might consider not playing it, but even then I might still play it because you can like silence a mage and, I don't know, mind bomb the healer, and if you get one single Void Torrent with this fat power infusion, it's insane damage, it's ridiculous. Even if it gets dispelled, you can just, okay, whatever. But in duels or in 2 versus 2, you might, in 2 versus 2 against 2 mages, let's say, I would probably go Mindbender. Shadow Crash is good as well. It's actually a lot of damage. Shadow Crash crits for 300k or even more. Shadow Crash is really good. It's underestimated a lot. So if I were to play not Power Infusion, I would probably go Shadow Crash. But Power Infusion is just the best baseline, and I recommend you try it, even though it has a long cooldown compared to other abilities we have. I feel like it's the best. Alright, and last off we got Legacy of the Void, and then a piece of shit, and then a piece of piss. Okay, you can't even spec Surrender to Madness in Arena, because it's a 10-minute cooldown, so you can't press it. And then Mind Spike is garbage in Arena. If you could cast non-stop, you would have other things to cast, not just Mind Spike. And even if you would, for some reason, cast Mind Spike non-stop, it wouldn't be a lot of damage. So it's just not worth it. They need to buff Mind Spike to be even viable for PvE, I'd say. But Legacy of the Void is far superior. It just allows you to go in Void form, you know, sooner. The sooner you go into Void form, the more damage you do. The more you can start refreshing your dots with Shadow Bolt, with Void Bolt. I'm sorry. So it just makes the most sense. You never go for any of these. I mean, you could play Surrender to Madness and then play Edge of Insanity and make like a funny spec, but you know, you cannot spec Surrender to Madness in Arena, and this is supposed to be an Arena guide. So that's it for talents. Let's move over to the honor part of talents, aka, well, honor talents. Let's take a look now at the honor talents, and I would say that the best one here is Gladiator's Medallion. Adaptation is not really amazing because a lot of times you will want to trinket shorter CCs like stuns, and stuns are usually under 5 seconds or 5 seconds. And a lot of times you want to trinket that or you die, because, you know, unlike other classes, we actually, most of the time we use trinket defensively, although you kind of use it offensively sometimes. And then Relentless isn't exactly good for Shadow Priest, because again, like, a lot of times you will have to trinket or die basically, and you can't afford to sit in a stun for too long. Next up, it's a pretty obvious Mind Quickness. Train of Thought makes you do more damage, but if you get attacked, then it gets cancelled. And guess what? You will always get attacked as a Shadow Priest, so this one is out of the question. And then Initiation is pretty interesting when you combine it with Auspicious Spirits, because what it does, it gives you 30% extra crit chance on targets that are high HP. So you're gonna get a lot of ghosts, and that's how the ghost spec works. But for Arena, I would normally go, and I definitely suggest Mind Quickness, because haste is our main stat, and 6% haste is pretty sick actually, it's really good. So like Mind Quickness gives you shorter, like haste gives you shorter cooldown on Mind Blast, and also on Shield, and also on Void Bolt. It gives you more damage on Void Torrent. It's good, okay? Mind Quickness, definitely. Next up, we got a pretty solid choice here. We got Void Shield, Pure Shadow, and Fleeting Embrace. Now, Void Shield and Fleeting Embrace got nerfed a bit, but they're still decent. Void Shield makes it so that whenever you shield yourself, you get a 33% leech. So 33% of all the direct damage you deal gets healed. You get healed, you know, that amount. And then Fleeting Embrace halves the cooldown on Vampiric Embrace, and it also makes it AoE for 3 targets. So it's pretty good against Warlocks. It makes it a 1.5 minute cooldown instead of a 3 minute cooldown. So I would go for this against caster like Dot Cleaves. Against most other targets, I would go Void Shield because it does offer the most sustain on yourself. But if you are fighting a comp like Rogue, like something that CCs your healer a lot and focuses on CCing your healer and then killing you, because actually a lot of comps in Legion, I feel like, are just gonna be train comps. Like you get trained, and you know the CC is there, but it's not insane. And for those things, I'm not sure, but I think I would rather have Void Shield, because I can constantly heal myself, you know, little by little, so I mitigate some of that damage. But Pure Shadow, I would definitely go Pure Shadow against like a Rogue Mage Priest, Rogue Mage Druid, Rogue Mage Shaman, something that CCs your healer for a long time, because Pure Shadow makes you almost immortal when you disperse. And I mean, you can afford to disperse at low HP and generate a lot of health with dispersion. instead of, you know, this pre-dispersing damage. It's a bit more forgiving if you disperse with Pure Shadow. And again, when your healer gets CC'd, I feel like Pure Shadow is definitely going to help you out. And even more so when we're going to get to artifact talents. But keep in mind, Pure Shadow is going to synergize really well with an artifact. So I'd say baseline against most things, I would probably stay Void Shield. Against things that CC your healer a lot and you die during your healer being CC'd, like in a long chain, or against super crazy burst, just like a one-shot, let's say against maybe even Windwalker monks, because they have Serenity every 1.5 minutes, so it lines up with power, with dispersion. Maybe then I would go Pure Shadow. And for dot cleaves like Affliction Warlock Boomkin or Shadow Priest Affliction Warlock, I would probably go Fleeting Embrace just so I can help with healing. And trust me, you help a lot with healing if you go Fleeting Embrace and you time your Vampiric Embrace with a lot of burst that you do. It's actually sick healing. Alright, next up we got Driven to Madness, Void Origins, and Edge of Insanity. I'm gonna cross Edge of Insanity off straight away. When you enter Void form, your dots deal more damage, they tick faster, you get access to Void Bolt, you get more haste, you get Void Torrent. You just kill people, okay, when you get into Void form. You want to get, your goal as a Shadow Priest is to stay in Void form as long as possible. And Edge of Insanity kind of plays different, like the whole rotation swaps. So I don't think the 10% extra damage is worth everything else that you miss. Definitely not. So I would cross this off like straight away. Like, this will never be good, I think. Maybe in like if you play Edge of Insanity with Surrender to Madness for some duels, it might be funny. But no, I think I would definitely cross this off for Serious Arena or BGs or whatever. Now, Driven to Madness and Void Origins is an interesting discussion, but I've come to the conclusion that Driven to Madness is by far the best one here. It makes Shadow Priest actually work, and what it says is, obviously you can read, it says being attacked will grant you 5 insanity, and as I said before, you get attacked all the time as a Shadow Priest, okay, so you are going to be the focus of the enemy fire all the time, so you will generate a ton of insanity with Driven to Madness, and plus, if you're in Void form, for instance, and you don't play Driven to Madness, you're in Void form, you get stunned by a rogue, because everyone's playing a rogue now, you're gonna just lose Void form straight away, because you can't generate any insanity if you don't have Driven to Madness in a stun. I mean, you can with Shadow Mania a bit, but with Driven to Madness, even if you're stunned, it doesn't matter, you're gonna generate insanity all the time. So it actually enables you to play all of this spec, because this spec doesn't have a lot of insanity generation on its own. You don't have Void, or Shadow Word Void, you don't have Shadowy Insight for the extra insanity. Power Infusion actually does get dispelled a lot, so it's more for the damage than for the insanity generation. So you don't have Shadow Crash or Mindbender, so you actually rely on Driven to Madness. If you play Void Origins, and with this spec, you're gonna have a bad time. I tried it, it kind of sucks, okay? You're more out of Void form than in Void form, and you feel like you're struggling a lot. It's not fun at all. So definitely, I strongly recommend Driven to Madness, even in 2 vs 2, even in duels, in any sort of situation. Void Origins, again, if the meta shifts to the point where Shadow Priests are not gonna get trained anymore, okay, so we can free cast forever, then obviously you don't want to go Driven to Madness if no one hits you, unless you're fighting a dot cleave, which, a dot cleave will put dots on you as well, and dots do proc Driven to Madness. So if the meta gets to that point, then I would probably spec Void Origins and Shadow Word Void here, so I can actually get some insanity anyway, and maybe even Shadow Crash baseline instead of Power Infusion. Probably not though. So right now, Driven to Madness wins by a mile in my opinion. And next up, we got Mind Trauma, Shadow Mania, and Psychic Link. This is a pretty easy one, right? You go for Shadow Mania, even though it got nerfed recently as well. It increases the healing of Vampiric Touch by 50%, and it used to be 100%. So Vampiric Touch now heals you for 75% of the entire damage it deals. It's still pretty good, but the main reason you go for this is, well, one of them is the passive healing, because you are kind of squishy unless you heal yourself. But the main part is having Vampiric Touch on 2 or more targets grants you 3 insanity every 2 seconds, and this plus Driven to Madness is enough to keep you in Void form for a pretty long time, even when you get attacked and even if you don't. Mind Trauma is like really bad. Like, you don't want to Mind Flay for the Shadow Word Pain, because why would you Mind Flay when it's like you have to cast and channel and wait for the tech to actually do damage. And mine's here 25%. This is bad, okay? It might be somewhat fun in BGs if everyone's clumped together and you play initiation and you want to summon a bunch of ghosts, but it's not really effective. And then Psychic Link again isn't really good. I mean, you could play Psychic Link and go with Shadowy Insight, and then obviously Mind Blast would do more damage, but I mean, Mind Blast doesn't do a lot of damage, and you do Mind Blast on cooldown, but it's definitely not worth it. Shadow Mania is much better. It's just way better, okay, for the healing and for the insanity generation. So Shadow Mania wins here by, like, it's obvious. And next up we got Shadow Fiend, Last Word, and Void Shift. And Void Shift is your big oh shit button, okay? It helps you, like, it's basically lay on hands for someone. It can be lay on hands for someone. You can either use it defensively for yourself, so if you're low and your teammates are high HP, you can swap, or if they are low and you are high HP, you can swap like that, and then you can disperse or you can heal back. So it's very versatile. It's a 5-minute cooldown, so you're gonna use one of them per arena in most cases, but it's game breaking, right? It's literally game breaking, so you definitely want to stay this against in threes, I mean. In BGs, I wouldn't go for this one because it's a long cooldown, and in BGs, I'm just out there to have fun. And also in duels, obviously, you can't go Void Shift, and you will want to go Siphon instead, which is a 45-second cooldown, summons a 10 HP Siphon, which you want to shield because otherwise it's going to die. And you shield the Siphon, then the Siphon just starts channeling a Mind Flay. The Mind Flay does pretty good damage, and it also reduces the movement speed and also reduces the healing the target takes. The Siphon is actually really good in arena if it doesn't die, but I feel like, especially at, you know, like with all the demon hunters and at higher rating, people are gonna just one-shot your Siphon. Even with the shield, it just dies really fast. And Void Shift is game breaking, but Siphon isn't bad. It's not a bad choice, but Void Shift is better for arena, Siphon is better for anything else. And then Last Word, I don't like this at all. Like, it DRs with your own silence. And usually when someone is low, you want to double Shadow Word Death like straight away. So you're not going to get like a 4.5 second silence. You're just going to get a 3 second silence anyway. So I don't see Last Word being good at all. Again, like I said this before, maybe in some sort of, if maybe in a dot cleave when everyone is rotting and everyone is at 35% HP, you want to like silence two targets, even silence 3 targets, like you know, Shadow Word Death one guy, Shadow Word Death the other guy, and then silence the third guy, and then they're gonna die, probably. But even then, I mean, why would you do that when you could double Shadow Word Death one target with a silence on the healer and just kill that one target? Alright, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Plus, the other options are much better. And yeah, that's pretty much it for talents and honor talents. Now let me briefly go over our artifact weapon. I mean, in the end, we're gonna have all of these talents just the way you see it here, except we're also gonna have relics, and I'll get to that in a second. But I just want to mention what I believe to be the best path to level this thing. Again, in the end, so they said after about 3 or 4 months, I'm not sure, but I think that's what they said, right? About 3 or 4 months, you're gonna have this exact template right here with everything unlocked. But until then, you have to unlock them one by one. So in my opinion, the best way to level this thing is going like this. You go for this one, and then this, that, that, and then you go back to that, and then you go for that one, and then there, and then you go up like that, and then you get the final 2, which are kind of crap. The most important ones in this tier are the one that thrive in the shadows, that heals you when you disperse from the shadows, which reduces the cooldown of your dispersion, and also Touch of Darkness, which increases the damage of your vampiric touch, and also Mass Hysteria. I think these are the most important ones. And I mean, everything helps, but I feel like these 4 are the most important ones. So yeah, and also the relics. Okay, so relics are kind of like gems, right? You get them randomly from PvP, or you can target them specifically for PvE, from PvE, and they increase the rank of one of these traits, okay? So you can increase the rank on any of them, and I think that the best one in the beginning, again, is gonna be this one here from the shadows. So you can get 3, I don't know, I guess shadow runes. I mean, let's just check them out real quick here, okay? Let's go to PvE, because there you can see all of them. All right, so kind of like this one, okay? This gem right here, which is actually a relic, not a gem, but it's like a gem. It gives you 40 item levels for the weapon, which, you know, translates into more item level overall, so more power overall in Arena. And it also gives you a rank of From the Shadows, which says reduce the cooldown of dispersion by 30 seconds. That's the current rank, and you can get 3 of these, and you're gonna get dispersion on a 1-minute cooldown. How awesome is that? And that's gonna be really awesome in the beginning, I feel like. So Shadow Priests, again, are gonna get trained a lot. And having dispersion on a 1-minute cooldown is going to be huge, and here is where it lines up really well with Pure Shadow. If you spec Pure Shadow, you basically have a bubble every minute, which is nuts. It's even better than a bubble because you heal, right? You can press the bubble and then it heals you for 50% of your entire HP. So it's pretty sick. Later down the road, when things calm down a bit, I mean, this one still might be the best one, but in terms of damage, Touch of Darkness is going to be the best. So you can get, if you can get 3 of these, it's going to say increased damage done by Vampiric Touch by 30%. And again, Vampiric Touch is your main source of damage. This one's going to be sick. So I would say if you can target things, I would go for this one first. And I'll probably stay with this one because I also do like 1v1s and you know, BGs and all this kind of stuff. But for Arena, strictly Arena, it's either this or this. Okay, I would go for this one first, and if the meta shifts to the point where Shadow Priests are not getting trained as much, I might go for Touch of Darkness. Again, if you can target them, like if you get random traits from BGs, just use whatever gives you the most item level and whatever feels the most useful. Okay. And that's pretty much it for the weapon. That's it. It's a nice weapon. It has an eyeball over there. Thanks, Blizzard. So let me talk a little bit about the rotation gameplay and what you do exactly, okay, as a Shadow Priest. Now, I would really like to get 3s. Oh, we're so lucky. Okay, so I'm not really focusing on winning this game, but I am at the same time. So this is a really good example because these guys are going to go for me 100%. And the Resto Shaman is one of the best. It's not one of the best. It's definitely the best healers in the game. So let's see exactly what you do in a situation like this. I'm going to have my talents exactly how I told you. All right, so nothing's changed. I'm not going to change anything here. Also, you're going to see my abilities right here in the bottom left corner. It's an add-on called Trophy GCD. Okay. Trophy GCD, alright? With a T. T-R-U-F-I GCD. Because everyone's asking me. So I'll show you exactly what I do. So my main focus is gonna be to apply Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch to everyone, including the Shaman. And then go into Void form, pop my Power Infusion and my Troll Racial, which gives me a ton of haste. And just rotate Void Bolts so I refresh my dots, and that's all I'm gonna try to do. So I'm gonna start with my cast because I can now cast for a while because they're not hitting me, so I can actually cast. Since they're not hitting me at all, I can. Oh, they are gonna swap to me now, so I'm not gonna juke too much, but I'm gonna juke once. All right, I got one interrupt. Let's get the other one if you can. We can't. Okay, never mind. It's fine if you can get it. Like, you don't have to struggle too much. And I might disperse here. Okay, I got bopped. So we're gonna Void Eruption and refresh dot. I'm actually gonna dot the Shaman as well. Okay, gonna pop my one shot, and Shaman actually is gonna go down probably. So I could Void Torrent the Shaman. Okay, he's down. That was a pretty easy example, I guess. The idea is to just dot everything, also heal things, but like nobody really requires healing. And then you rotate Void Bolts to keep your insanity going, you know. And that's it. I mean, that guy's dead. You know, I'm gonna queue one more game with these guys, and hopefully we get a better example. And we can see right there that my damage was almost as high as the Demon Hunters. And the longer the game goes, the higher your damage becomes. And as you can see, my main source of damage is by far Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain. Like, my dots did most of the work. And then everything else is just to help sustain these big ones, okay? So let's enter the next one, and let's see if we get anything different. Alright, here we have Affliction Warlock, Frost Mage. And the Shaman. So honestly, if this was high rating, okay, if this was like higher rating, I would swap out of Power Infusion and I would probably go Shadow Crash here. But since it's random people and I just want to show you how the game goes, I'm gonna stay Power Infusion. The reason I'd go something else is because Power Infusion can get dispelled by the Mage and the Shaman. Plus you get silenced a lot with the Warlock and the Frost Mage and don't get to cast much. But everything else should stay the same. Maybe go Fleeting Embrace, but I trust my guys, and I just want to show you guys exactly how I deal with things, right? So first things first, we just want to get our dots up. It's fine if you push in against casters, we're okay. We're gonna do one fake cast, and we're gonna do another one. Another one. Alright, fine, he's not interrupting. He's not even targeting me. He's targeting me now, so maybe? Okay, someone's getting sheeped. Demon Hunter got sheeped. I'm gonna dispel that ice form. You need the dispel. It's very important to dispel all the time. I'm gonna refresh my dots on the Warlock. I'm gonna line of sight them. I'm actually gonna silence that sheep. I did not silence, I sucked. Okay, I actually pressed my silence into his nether armor, nether ward, whatever it's called. So now I'm gonna just refresh dots with my Void Bolt. I'm gonna refresh it on the... Oh, the Mage actually doesn't have my dots. Alright, I'm gonna refresh it on the Warlock now. I don't want to push my what's it called? My one-shot. Actually, I'll do it. I'll just do a lot of damage on this guy. So everything has dots now. I got feared. That sucks. Even the pet has dots, and that's how we're gonna do a lot of our damage. And actually, this is a really good idea if you play with a melee to just have your melee go on the healer. Because it's just so much pressure on everyone. So I can go into Void Form again now and just rotate. And now the healer is in my line of sight, so I can actually get some stuff on him as well. I can silence him even, just do more damage, refresh my dots on the Mage. I'm actually gonna trinket that because I don't really care. I would dispel that ice form, but I'd rather do more damage, so I'm just gonna keep doing damage, just rotate, dot the pet as well. We can get a Shadow Word Death on the pet, so you always want to do that because it gives you more insanity, and you proc your Twist of Fate. And now we can go back into Void Form. I'm actually gonna use my Vampiric Embrace because it looks like we're gonna win anyway, and we're not really in any sort of trouble, but I might as well use it at some point, you know. I'm gonna refresh my dots. I'm gonna put dots in the oh, this guy is actually dispelling. It's a pretty good idea to dispel if you're fighting just a Shadow Priest. But if you're fighting more than just a Shadow Priest, like a Shadow Priest and a Warlock, then it's probably a bad idea. Alright, so I'm sheep now. Hope my healer will dispel me. He did, so I'm gonna keep refreshing. Alright, and we run out of what's it called? A Void Form. That's sad. Oh, this totem is pretty tanky. Alright. So that's all you do, really. And I'm gonna dispel Ice Form again. I was a bit slow with it. Dispel that Ice Ward as well. Ice Barrier, sorry. And I'm just, as you can see, like I'm only pressing like Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain. That's literally all I'm doing. I'm gonna silence the Shaman here because I actually want to win the game. I don't want to be here forever. So I'm gonna Void Rend him out of this one, probably, if I can still stay in this thing. Yeah, Void Rend him here. And I'll put a stun on him right before he lines me, so I can catch up. And we actually overlapped stuns there, so that's kind of sad. And my guy's taking a lot of damage, so I could Void Shift him and peel a little bit. I'm gonna get feared. Like, these guys are controlling me a lot, and it's pretty sad. But, you know, at the same time, we are winning, so I can't really complain. So I'm just gonna put my dots again. I'm getting feared. But as you can see, I'm still generating a lot of insanity just thanks to the fact that I have dots on myself, which proc my Driven to Madness, and also the fact that I have Vampiric Touch on more than 2 targets, so it gives me the other thing. This is getting ridiculous. Alright, I might live swap my guy, I don't know, maybe not. Okay, so I want to refresh my dots in the Warlock now, like so. This guy is just dispelling all the time. So I'm gonna refresh it on the Shaman. I'm gonna cast one of these on this guy. I actually have my one-shot back. Do I have my one-shot back? I have everything back. Need to swap. Okay, let's swap. Actually, I messed up because he bubbled as well. But that's alright. Alright, so I'm gonna game face now because I want to end this game. Okay, so if you want to end the game, because I think you guys understand, right? If you want to end the game, you also do a CC chain. So I'm gonna stun the Shaman. Right, I'm gonna stun him. He actually dispelled himself there, so that's pretty smart. And then I'm gonna silence him. I'm just gonna kill things. I'm gonna refresh my dots properly. I'm gonna trinket that one. No, I didn't refresh properly there. Okay, we want this. One of these. Actually, I have my Vampiric Touch, so it's fine if I just do a Void Bolt. It's kind of hard to comment it, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to look when my dots are expiring so I can refresh them. See, so on the Shaman, I just refreshed everything. Now I can Mind Blast. I can Mind Bomb him. And you can actually, and it's a good idea, you actually use Mind Control as well. You know? Like, this is a good tactic as well. Okay, this works. And it's just more pressure, like this. So we're just dotting more things. we juke the shear there, I'm gonna get sheeped, which is sad. It's on my void form. I'm considering dispersing it, but it's probably a bad idea. So I'm just gonna kill the mage. Don't sheep me, please. Alright, doing a lot of damage on the mage. Oh, sheeps. Okay. Well, shamans are really strong, but gonna silence the shaman here, put dots and everything. I'm gonna put a mind bomb on him, so I get a stun out of that. He actually dispelled himself, but he got feared by my shadow vampiric touch. I don't know the name of my spells, but it's fine because we don't need to know that. They're there, and that's all that matters. I got locked. I'm gonna get sheep now. Sad. Oh, we're killing that guy again. Okay. Feared. Gonna dispel the ice ward. Gonna double shadow ward the shaman, and maybe he will go down one day. Back in void form. Put a shadow fiend as well. I suck with that shadow fiend. I need to use it more often. And okay, he's dead finally. And okay, maybe we could have done that better. But I was just trying to show you like what my priority is when it comes to just doing damage, and that's how you do a lot of damage. Okay, like I did so much damage that game, and if we check recount to see exactly what did all that damage, guess what? Like you can see it now. It's vampiric touch, as I said. Vampiric touch is like 50%. Okay, maybe I did a bad job of mind blasting there, because mind blast should be actually against a warlock. Mind blast should be pretty equal to void bolt. So I'm sure I messed up there with mind blast. I'm sure I had mind blast off cooldown a lot of times. I didn't use it. So mind blast should be a bit higher up here, but this is how the chart looks. Okay, so obviously you want to buff vampiric touch and shadow word pain as much as you can, and then void bolt, and all of these are affected by mastery, and all of them get increased by haste. So that's why, you know, now everything's coming together, I hope, with mind quickness, with the artifact talents. Like I said, like this one's very important, and then vampiric touch is very important, and sand lane is the most important talent because it boosts this abomination of a damage. So yeah, it's pretty sick. I mean, look at vampiric touch. It hits on average, or on average per tick, is a 50k, all right, and it crits for it's a non-crit 100k sometimes, and it crits for 140k vampiric touch. That's insane. Whereas mind blast, all right, mind blast hits a bit harder, I guess, than a tick of vampiric touch, but I guess this kind of shows you what I mean, and this is kind of how you want to play. And you can see you do more damage than a warlock, like way more damage than a warlock. I could have done way more healing as well. I'm 4th in healing. I would have done way more healing if I would have been targeted myself, because I can heal myself a lot more. But since I wasn't taking any damage, there was no need of void shield healing. There was no need of dispersion healing. There was no need. The only healing I did that was massive was when I used my vampiric embrace, and that was it. But that's pretty much it for gameplay wise. Again, what you want to do is you want to prioritize your dots and stay in void form for as long as possible, and then also be somewhat helpful with heals, with void shift and dispels and stuff like that. All right, now go out there and make me proud. Now, the best part about making a PvP guide for a class in Legion is you don't have to cover stats at all, because every class now has a template, so you can't hoard a stat like you could in previous expansions. So you can't really customize your character for PvP as you would like. Basically, every single spec has a set template, and literally all that matters is your item level and your artifact traits. Okay, so right now I have item level 808, and literally whenever you queue into PvP like arena or something like that, you want to just get the highest item level you can, because for every point of item level you get a 0.1% increase in all of your stats, and that's it. Like, you can't get more intellect, you can't get more haste, crit, mastery, like you can't stack them per se, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's it. It's really easy to cover stat priority. You just go for highest item level anything, and you're good to go. Again, the only thing that does stay the same and matters are your talents, honor talents, and artifact traits, and also the relics. Those actually work. Actually, I'm not 100% sure. No, relics do work. Yeah, 100% relics do work. And also, since this was so short, I'm gonna talk about races and what I believe the best race is. Now, if you're Horde, then I'm sorry, but Troll is the best race for Shadow Priests if you're Horde. Just Berserking is super strong with power infusion. It's literally 40% haste. Look at this. 10% haste, boom, 60% haste. This one's 25 and this one's 15. So it's 40 overall. Why do I have 60? I don't even know. Do I have anything that gives me like passive haste increase? Really? I think I do. Maybe I do because I'm a Shadow Priest. I'm not even sure, but it's the best, alright? It's the best. The next one would probably be either Undead or Goblin. Goblin is actually pretty sweet with the rocket jump, and also you get 1% passive haste non-stop, which is not bad at all. Undead is nice because of the Touch of the Grave, so you get more procs than you would know. Actually, you get about the same. But yeah, you get just more damage and more healing overall, which is nice, and also Will of the Forsaken, and also you look very sexy when you play an Undead. So I'm gonna stay Undead. And if Alliance is your thing, then Human is still gonna be the best race, and probably the best race overall for Shadow Priests, because we do struggle with stuns a lot. So Human, I believe, yeah, the best race overall for Shadow Priests. After that, I would say Night Elves, because there's a lot of 1 minute big cooldowns, and if you can Shadow Meld those, you're fine. So Night Elf is a big deal now. I'd say it's a bigger deal than before. Then I would that's it. I don't know. Maybe Worgen. You can combine your movement increase with dispersion, so you can sprint away when you disperse. But you don't really need that in arena. You just disperse and you stay there anyway. But that's pretty much it. So I'd say Human is the best. Like overall, I'd say Human is the best, and then Troll, and then Night Elf, Undead, and Goblin are kind of the same. Maybe Night Elf and Goblin, and then Undead. But that's it. I don't know. In the end, like racials do matter a bit, but unless you're playing to get like rank 1, you know, I'd stay whatever you like the most. I'm gonna stay Undead because I like it, and that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the guide thing. I hope you learned something from it, or just enjoyed watching to me talk for half an hour. I literally lost my voice. But yeah, thank you, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya!